Welcome back to Brian's Blunders. This is episode 4 of my Blunders series, and just as a refresh, what I'm doing is looking back at my 40-year career and picking out the times where I made mistakes, what I call blunders, that impacted my relationship with others, my career, my relationship with customers, or the company I was working for. So hopefully you'll learn something from it. So this one again is episode 4, and I call this one Rogue Customer. So back in the mid to late 2000s, I was trying to build specialty cables at AFL, and there was a large oil and gas company that I was pursuing, and had met kind of their lead engineer there, who was kind of doing the vetting process of the products we were trying to make for them. And over the course of months, we talked, again and again, and he started pushing me on getting to know some real specifics about how the cables were made. One of the things that we had at AFL is we had a way of getting to a 260-degree performance on a downhole fiber optic cable, which competitors did not have at the time. And he was pushing to understand that, and I resisted, and he basically said, look, if you don't tell me, I can't qualify you, you're not going to get the business. So I was faced with a choice, and I said, okay, got an NDA, this is all confidential, here you go. And I gave him kind of the secret sauce, if you will, of what was in the cable, and then ultimately how the 260-degree C was achieved. And ended up getting some business from them eventually, and that grew over time, and that was all fine and good. And over time, I started seeing competitors coming out with something similar, just trying to figure out, wasn't quite sure, obviously, how they were achieving it. And it was something I chose not to patent, because it would have been a very difficult thing to defend. Anyway, so time went on, and eventually I left. Well, take that back. Let me go back a little bit. So at a certain point, that engineer at that company decided to quit and go collaborate with a competitor to build a fiber optic manufacturing and a downhole fiber optic cable factory that was going to compete directly with me. That was more than concerning. And fortunately, the powers that be at this oil company kind of smelled something a little bit odd going on. Something didn't seem quite right. So they went in and basically shut that facility down where the guy was at, locked everything down, got all the computers, from what I understand, and basically did a forensics. Ended up suing the guy. The guy essentially was taking information from that service company, that oil and gas company, and providing it to the company he was going to collaborate with. And basically that all came to a screeching halt, thankfully. So, crisis averted. I didn't have a competitor. So all good, right? And so roll forward to 2015, and I leave AFL and I go to FiberCore. And my competitors, who I'd always maintained a cordial relationship with, also were even more open with me, and I was able to go visit their factories and talk to them about how they approach things. And one of the questions was, well, how are you achieving this 260-degree C? And they shared with me. I said, where'd you learn that? Well, it was that engineer at that oil and gas company who basically told it to everybody. AFL had an NDA with that company, but if I would have known this at AFL, would we have sued that oil and gas company? No. Again, suing your customers is not a great way to grow your business or strengthen a relationship. It was more than frustrating. I had the material. One of the key components of getting to 260 degrees was material from a particular vendor, and I had them change a name of the product specifically for AFL, and it was only supposed to be sold to AFL and not even talked about to anybody else. Well, lo and behold, they sold it to everybody else too. More than frustrating. So, it kind of goes back to episode 1 is, be careful what you share. I was in a rock and a hard place. I wanted the business. I needed the business to grow. It's a tough one. I probably could have resisted. I probably could have pushed back a little bit harder. Because one of the questions that, looking back, that I probably should have asked this engineer, I said, so what happens if you violate it? What happens if you share this with third parties? Can we sign something where you're going to pay me or the company AFL $1 million per incident or something ridiculous like that? Because that's kind of what ended up happening, and we didn't get. We shared, and obviously AFL got nothing out of it. AFL has since exited that business, which is a bit disappointing as well. So again, be careful what you share when it comes to intellectual property. Ask those kind of questions. If they press you on, oh, you gotta tell me. It's like, okay, what happens if you share? Let's put something in writing to where if you get caught violating this NDA, that there's consequences, and it's not something that you can just, walk away from and do something. I'm not sure if that's even doable, to be fair. That was a blunder. I could have blocked down my supplier a little bit better too, from a material standpoint. I thought I did. We had documentation, but I ended up calling that vendor later on after I left AFL, and he denied it. Like, oh my God, how can you deny it? You sold it to 3 of my competitors. Yeah, it's tough. It's there's a lot of sharks out there, and you got to be careful what you share. And even when you are careful, sometimes you still get burned. So take it for what it's worth. Anyway, so today I'm at Magnetic South Brewery in Anderson, South Carolina, and I'm drinking their Oktoberfest beer. It's pretty good. If you ever get to Anderson, stop by. And so that concludes episode 4. There's comments below if you want, or a place to put comments below if you want. And I may or may not respond to that. So take care.